Welcome to yet another Power BI video from MIPE Consulting. This is the second video of a series of 2 videos illustrating the access of an SQL Server database using Power BI. In this video, we shall see how to access an SQL Server database using the DirectQuery method. Creation of a key influencers visual as well as a map visual is also illustrated in this video. Let's begin. For this purpose, we are going to use the AdventureWorks Data Warehouse 2019 database in SQL Server. Let's see how we can get this database in our SQL Server. This is a Microsoft document and you can access this by using this link, and you can see AdventureWorks sample databases here. We have to download backup files. And the backup file that we are going to download is AdventureWorks DW 2019.back. How to restore this backup file into SQL Server is detailed here in this document. And you can use that to download and restore the AdventureWorks DW 2019 database into SQL Server. Now let's open Power BI. We click on Get Data. Get Data is again from database, and we are going to use a SQL Server database. Click on Connect, and we have to give the server name. The server name is here. We can click on Connect, copy the server name and paste it in Power BI. Pasted the server name here, and the data connectivity mode that we are going to use is DirectQuery. Database is optional, so we are not going to give anything there. Let's click on OK. So we can see a load of databases, and we are interested in AdventureWorks DW. DW is Data Warehouse 2019. Let's click here. Select the tables that we want. I'm interested in fact internet sales, DIM customer, and DIM geography. So what is fact internet sales? In Data Warehouse, wherever the data changes frequently, such as sales are happening every day, purchases are happening every day, orders are being placed every day, and the table undergoes a change every day. Such tables are called fact tables. In short, fact tables represent dynamic data, whereas DIM is dimension. Dimension tables do not change that frequently. They do change, but only less periodically. So we call them dimension tables. So DIM customer is dimension customer, wherein you have all the data relating to a particular customer. DIM geography is a geography table which contains all the details regarding the geography of a customer or the location of a customer. So let's click on load data, because in this case, we are not going to get any data. We are going to query SQL Server directly. So transform data is of no relevance. So let's click on load. We see the 3 tables that we selected over here. And here you can see we have only 2 views, the report view and the model view. When we click on the model, you can see how these tables are related. DIM customer is related to DIM geography. It's a one-to-many relationship. And you can see geography key here and geography key here. This is the common key that relates both these tables. Now let's have a look at the fact internet sales. The common key between the DIM customer table and the fact internet sales table is the customer key. So we can see the relationship. Now let's go to the report view. So the only thing we can do with regard to DirectQuery is creating visualizations. We can't analyze data or transform data. The tables that we see here do not contain the data, but they contain the metadata, such as the relationships. Let's start creating a visualization and see how the visualization impacts the SQL Server database, or how the SQL query is formed when we create the visualization. The visualization that we are going to create first is a key influencers chart. So let's click on key influencers, resize it. And before proceeding further, let's understand why we use key influencers, or when we use key influencers. Key influencers chart is the first AI visualization in Power BI. It performs linear regression. Linear regression is normally used for making predictions. Key influencers visual is a great choice if you want to see which factors affect the metric being analyzed and contrast the relative importance of these factors. For example, do short-term contracts have more impact on churn than long-term contracts? In short, if you want a metric to be analyzed and want to find out which factors cause an increase or decrease in the metric and to what extent, we can use the key influencers chart. So let's go back to our visualization. Contrary to import, in DirectQuery, visualizations are created by directly querying the SQL Server database because we don't have any data in Power BI. Let's start this key influencer visualization. What we are going to analyze is the sales amount. The sales amount is in fact internet sales. We have the sales amount here. So let's drag and drop it under analyze. We have two headers, key influencers and top segments. We are going to find out what influences sales amount to increase. When is this going to be helpful? In case we want to do a marketing campaign to increase sales, we would like to focus on those groups of customers who would be inclined to purchase what we have to offer or who would accept our marketing campaign. So we need to group the customers based on certain parameters. We have to decide on those parameters by using the key influencers visualization. So let's see how we can do that. So let's see whether any of the attributes of a customer would increase the sales amount. Go to dim customer table and choose the birth date. So let me drag and drop it under explain by. So it says no influencers found. Try adding some more fields into explain by. Try adding yearly income. It says no influencers found. Why is this happening? Because the metric that we are analyzing, let's right click on this and the don't summarize option is checked here. The key influencers visual works when the metric is summarized. So let's click on sum. Now you can see that yearly income is an important factor. It increases the sales by 3.63K. That is when the yearly income goes up this much. Similarly, birth date also has an influence. From the scatter plot, we can see that as the yearly income increases, the sales amount goes up. Similarly, let's click on birth date. So the largest sales amount is contributed by people born between 1967 and 1981. So we need to focus on this age group. We need to focus on people who have an income between 0.5 million and 1 million pounds. And let's see what other factors contribute. Click on English education. English education comes next in line. When the English education is bachelor's, sales is quite high. So can focus on a customer whose yearly income is going up, who was born between 1971 and 1979, and English education is bachelor's. And let's see whether gender has any influence. Just drag it down. No, apparently gender has no influence. So let's remove this. Try number of children at home. Number of children at home does have an influence. As number of children decreases, sales increases. Now let's look at number of cars owned. Number of cars owned does have an influence on sales. So if the cars owned goes below 2.06, you can see an increase in sales. A person who doesn't own a car tends to purchase more. That's pretty much it with regard to the personal attributes of a customer. Now let's go to the geography. Let's see whether the city has any influence on sales. Let's click on city. It doesn't seem to have an influence. Let's click on state or province name. State or province name has an influence on the sales. Let's uncheck this and let's choose English country region name. English country region name does have the highest influence on internet sales. If the English country region name is Australia, the sales increases. Now we have found 5 factors that have an influence on sales, changing which would cause an increase in sales. So let's go to the focus mode so that you can see better. When I hover the mouse over the value, we can see that when English country region name is Australia, the average sales amount is 1,338.78 units higher compared to all other values of English country region name. This influencer contains approximately 19.46% of the data, which means that if we target on Australian customers, our internet sales has a likelihood of going up. Now, as yearly income increases, sales amount also increases. For example, a growth in yearly income by 48,872.7 leads on an average contributes to 1,096.57 unit growth in sales amount. The influencer contains approximately 100% of the data. Now, birth date. If the people are born between 1973 and 1980, based on 25.6% of the data, sales amount is bound to increase. As the number of cars owned decreases, sales amount increases. A fall in number of cars owned by 1.49, then sales amount increases by 337.07, validated by 100% of the data. And number of children at home. So number of children at home, if it goes down by 1.81, there's an increase in sales amount. This is just an example based on sample data, which is created by Microsoft. But in real life situations, the factors would be totally different and we can get much more insightful inferences. Now let's click on top segments. We have 3 segments, which means that if we are going to do a marketing campaign to increase sales, we have to focus on these 3 segments, the topmost to the segment 1 being this. So in segment 1, the average sales amount is 3.87K. This is 2.01K units higher than the overall average of 1.85K. Segment 1, yearly income is greater than £130,000. If the yearly income is this, the sales amount could be this, where it's higher than the average sales amount of 1.85K. This segment contains 1,240 data points, or 8% of the data fall under this category. In segment 2, the yearly income is less than or equal to £100,000 and is greater than £40,000. So sales would amount to this much, which is again above the average sales value. Segment 2 contains 9.6% of the data. Now let's go to segment 3. Even this is higher than the average, income between 100,000 and 130,000. So 9.6% of the data fall under this category, which means that our marketing campaign could be targeted towards these 3 segments to yield better results. So this is an excellent visual which provides us insight on way to shift our focus with regard to various initiatives that we are going to take. Now, how did we get this data? So let's go to SQL Server and let's go to X Event Profiler, and we can go for the standard profiler. So it's retrieving event information. You have the timestamps here, and we can see a stored procedure executed. A lot of queries have been sent to the SQL Server Management Studio, and data has been retrieved, which gets reflected in our visual. So whenever we create a visual, a query is sent to the SQL Server Management Studio, data is retrieved, and that is being shown in the visual. The advantage is that we get always the current data because the SQL Server database will have the current data. So we need not refresh the visual. Having seen how useful the key influencers visual is, let's create a map visualization. Map visualization is this one. Now, the map visual can be used to find out how our sales are distributed over various continents and various cities. Let's click on map. So we are going to use the sales value and the geography table values. The size of the data field is determined by the sales value. So we go to Fact Internet Sales and select the sales amount. So let's put state or province name under location because we want the geographical distribution in terms of country as well as province, the lowest level of granularity. under legend, we shall put the English country region name. And we can see that Australia has a blue color, and we can see the various provinces. You can see the size of the bubble varies. The bubble which is greater size represents more sales. So New South Wales bubble has the biggest size, and obviously it has got the highest sales amount. The lowest sales amount is in the case of Tasmania. Similarly, we can see in England, we have this much of sales, in Germany, in France, etc. It's a good visualization which tells us which country, which province has the highest sales amount. We have aquamarine color for France, and we see an aquamarine in Africa, whereas the country is France and the province is in France, but in the map it is shown under Africa. This is one of the bugs that we have in the map visualization. To get over this, the ideal thing that we can do is, under the location, we can provide more information. In addition to state province name, let me put English country or region name first and state province name next. Now what happens is, in Africa you don't have any data now. If we wanted province-wise, you can go for the drill down here. So let's drill it down and you can see province-wise data. Now you can find that Nord doesn't figure in Africa anymore. It figures in France. So a map visual can help us targeting our marketing campaigns to the right countries and right provinces, as well as make forays into untapped markets. We know that in Africa, we don't have even a single customer. Probably we can get into untapped African market or South American market or Asian market. We can use the map chart in conjunction with the key influencers chart to give us better results. Let's see what happened at the SQL Server when we created the map visual. So you can see a lot of select queries have been passed on to the SQL Server Management Studio to get the data required for the map visual. We get this display of events by clicking on the X event profiler and the standard option. By using the map visual in conjunction with the key influencers visual, our marketing efforts can be optimized and can be more effective. Hope you found this tutorial useful. We at MIPE value your feedback a lot. Thank you very much, and see you again with another Power BI tutorial.